Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a very special interview today. I am joined by the man who created probably a character that you have played quite a bit as a child. He created what I like to call the bear and bird wombo combo, Banjo and Kazooie. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you Steve Mayles. Welcome to the channel.
Oh, hello, Aaron. Well, thanks for having me.
So we're going to get right away into the very first question, and it was, now, because I find this a very interesting story. How did Playtonic Games exactly start? Because you started in Rare, and now you're at Playtonic, so how did that happen?
It probably goes back to like around sort of 2011. A few of us were chatting about, why aren't we, we have enough experience. Why aren't we doing something for ourselves now? Because at the time, Rare was becoming a very different place to work at. The founders had left. There was, there'd been a big change in the staff and the leadership team. And then later on in 2014, there was some redundancies made, and some key people took those redundancies. One of those being Gavin Price, who is really the founder of Playtonic and the studio head. And there's a couple of other people, including Chris Sutherland, who'd worked on Banjo Kazooie as lead programmer and Donkey Kong Country as lead programmer, and Jens Restemeyer, who'd worked on various Rare games. He's very, very good technically. And I kind of got wind of what they were planning, and I wanted to be in that, even though I hadn't had redundancy, because they used their redundancy money to set up the company, really. I hadn't taken redundancies, but I didn't feel I could do my best work at Rare anymore, so I really wanted to be somewhere small where I could have more of an input, and that's how it started, really. Then we were joined by another couple of artists. There was Steve Hurst, who did environments on Banjo Kazooie, and Mark Stevenson, who'd done work on Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong 64. So we had quite a lot of experience, even though there was only 6 of us at the start. We felt we had enough experience, to give it a go.
Right. And it started off as a Kickstarter, right? Like, that's when you guys came forward with the Kickstarter. How was that approached? Like, why did you guys think Kickstarter, and what was your reaction to the way it took off?
Yeah, well, Kickstarter was I think it was still the heyday of Kickstarter. There, we'd seen how projects like Shovel Knight had done really well. There's another one, Hat in Time, that had done really well as well.
Very good game. Very good game. Yeah.
Yes, it's saying, let's bring back the 3D platform. So we kind of thought, we should be having a piece of this pie as well. So we gave ourselves, we had an amount of money that ran out after, I think it was 3 months or something, which was a little bit nerve-wracking, because you've got this big date you're working towards. You've got to produce this demo, not a demo, a video for Kickstarter before the money runs out,
right.
and hope people like what they see. So we gave ourselves a target of, I think it was £175,000, and we thought, yeah, we'll probably make that. But we didn't know that we'd make that it was 38 minutes. That's how long it took. It was just incredible. Of course, we all logged on and to see what was happening, and the money just rocketed up, and it was just incredible. We couldn't keep pace with how fast it was going up. I think after a day, it was on £1 million.
Oh wow!
And it finished. Obviously, it slows over time. It finished over 2 million, with over 73,000 backers. I think at the time it was the fastest Kickstarter to reach 1 million. I think since then it's been overtaken by Shenmue.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was amazing, and we'll never stop thanking those original backers, because that they just gave us, you know, so much trust, and it's really built the company.
Yeah, to feel the love from the fans, for them to actually not just say it through verbal words, but to actually put money literally where their mouth is, to hand it to you guys and to feel that is something that's incredible.
I just sat there at night, you know, with a beer, watching the money go up. It was one of my sort of top career moments. Maybe number two. I think number one would probably be when we unveiled Donkey Kong Country at the CES in Chicago in 1994. I think that's always going to be my pinnacle, I think.
It's pretty hard to top Donkey Kong Country. That's hard to top that. So, but I do got a question, because Ukulele was your very, very first project out from Playtonic. So how did you guys come up with the chameleon and bat hero design? Because like, you came up with the design of Banjo, and how did you guys come together and thought, okay, a chameleon and a bat, perfect? How did that come together?
Oh, wow. Yeah, when you put it like that, it does sound a bit bonkers. But we thought about what interesting natural abilities creatures might have. So instead of just mashing two together because they look good together, we thought, oh, you know, what creatures have got cool abilities? Like, we've got chameleon, we can do something with the tail, we can do something with the tongue, we've got the sort of camouflage, and then we paired that with the bat. You've got, like, obviously the flying and the sonar. There's various moves around that. I think originally I did a bit of a crappy sketch of a tiger, but Gavin was like, oh, you know, he looks a bit sort of heroic, and he did. Whereas we were very much trying to make something in the vein of Banjo Kazooie, being a spiritual successor to Banjo Kazooie. So we went for more of like an underdog style character. You know, he's not big and buff. He's a bit of an accidental hero, I guess, that sort of thing.
Right.
I mean, I hadn't even sketched the characters together. I did a sketch of Yuka and a sketch of Lair, but I never even put the two together apart from in my head until I created the models for them. So but when there's only, you know, there's only 6 of us, so we had 3 months, so we just had to do stuff really fast.
Right.
You know, that there wasn't time for someone to say, oh, I'm not sure I like chameleons, can you make it a frog? Or, oh, I don't like bats, you know, can you make it a hummingbird? You know, there was none of that. But I think we picked 2 really good characters though as well. I think looking back, even if I had more time to iterate it, I don't think I'd have changed anything.
Oh, no. They're really well put together designs, and the characters are really good.
Oh, that's very kind, thank you.
That's the truth. So, like you had said, though, like, Ukulele had its DNA definitely in Banjo Kazooie, the original. But now you guys recently released Ukulele and the Impossible Lair, and I'm actually currently playing through it right now, and I'm really enjoying it. But you went from
that's good to hear.
Yeah, it went from a 3D platformer to more of the side scroller, almost like kind of how in a way you got your spiritual successor of Banjo Kazooie, and then the Impossible Lair almost had like DNA of a spiritual successor to Donkey Kong Country. But was this a difficult change? And what made you decide to shift from your open world 3D to the side-scrolling adventure?
Yeah, I mean, we were very careful not to call it a spiritual successor to Donkey Kong Country, because then obviously you get the natural comparisons, and you can't get away from, you know, it's not enough like Donkey Kong, or, you know, like people might have said, it's not enough like Banjo. So, you know, we never actually said that, but I can see why people would, you know, draw the comparisons, because we do have people on the team with experience of doing 2D platformers. I mean, I myself worked on DKC, and we have a designer who did, and a program as well, and some of the guys, they're really big fans of 2D games, so I think it's something we all thought that we could tackle, really, and we didn't really want to get stuck, you know, just being known as, oh, you know, it's Playtonic, the 3D platformer guys. And I think we'd learnt from Rare that if you keep doing the same game, you know, the team gets a bit stale, and maybe the ideas don't flow as well. Because I mean, looking back to Banjo, when we'd finished, because we did Banjo Tooie straight after Banjo Kazooie, and by the end of that, we'd had 4 years of 3D platformers, and the last thing we wanted to do was another 3D platformer. So we did something completely different, which was Grabbed by the Ghoulies, and that was really refreshing for the team and a really enjoyable game to work on. So there's definitely an element of that. I mean, it's not an easy choice to change genres, and it's not an easy choice because I've read some comments. It's like, oh, they couldn't, they didn't quite stick it with the 3D, so they're having to go at 2D because it's easier. I don't think it is easier. It's different. I think it needs to be so much more focused. The gameplay needs to be really tight, and it's got to flow in a certain way because you're directing players on a linear path through this game, where with a 3D platform you've got more of a sort of a free roam. It's a bit more relaxed. It's a very different type of game, and I think it surprised us actually. I think we thought it to be a little bit easier than it was, but we were very pleased with the result in the end.
But like you were saying though, that just because people thought, oh, they went 2D because it's easier, I would say going 2D is actually a bit harder in a sense, because you have less tools, you have less perspectives, you have a lot less to work with, but you still have to be able to design a flow that works, that would be equivalent with the 3D, but you got less tools to do so.
Yes, that's it. And you're trying to, with every level, you're trying to create a different gameplay experience as well, which you don't necessarily get in a 3D platformer, I guess, somewhat.
Right, yeah, I understand what you mean there. Now, you just talked a little bit about the difficulty, because I have played the original Ukulele. I didn't quite finish it because I got, a giant backlog. But I'm playing the Impossible Lair, and I definitely feel the difficulty has ramped up from the original. Was that a conscious choice, or was that just a byproduct? Like, what did you guys? Because you're seeing everyone reacting. There's rage compilations out there, people screaming at the game, and it's definitely interesting to watch. But I definitely felt that it's much more difficult. So did you guys not think it was that difficult, or what did you guys think on your end?
I think most of the rage comes from the Impossible Lair level itself, which I think is bloody hard. I haven't done it yet. I've only managed to get halfway through, and I rage at it. I want to smash stuff. But that's just me. I rage at most games, but as my children will tell you.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a conscious decision. Again, I think 2D lends itself to being a little bit more difficult, because the player's only got 2 dimensions to cope with, and if you're doing it right, the control should be precise enough that if you die, it should be your fault. It's not, oh, I couldn't see where I was because I couldn't see the depth because I was in 3D. I think it has to be more difficult, but then again, it shouldn't be so hard to cause frustration. But obviously, it can be difficult to get the balance right.
Right. So a quick little question here, though, because this is something that I kind of, because I have the question here, and you've gone over it, but I'm going to slightly reword it because we've already kind of talked a little bit about it. But we had Ukulele shift from the 3D platformer to the 2D platformer. Do you think Ukulele is going to be like this ambiguous IP that could be used in different genres, or are you happy with the way it is, where it is now, like the 2D platformer, or do you want to try other genres with Ukulele as well? In your perspective.
I think the plan is to try other genres, but we're kind of being a small independent company. We have to make sensible business decisions as well.
Of course.
So if we find out that every time we do a 3D platformer, it sells 5 times as much as any other genre we try, then our kind of bread and butter has to be the 3D platformer. But I'm sure we would love to try other genres in time. Absolutely. And other main characters as well. You know, we're not. I don't think we're always going to be, you know, the ukulele company. I'm sure we will at some point have a different lead character in a different game in a different genre. Absolutely.
Well, I cannot wait to be able to try all the ukuleles and all the different genres you want to dabble with. But we're going to shift from ukulele, and we're going to talk about two old friends of yours, Banjo and Kazooie. So, do you remember how you or the team came up with a bear with a backpack with a sassy bird in it? How did that come about?
Well, I mean, some things are a bit cloudy from, what are we? We're over 20, 21, 20 something odd years anyway. But I do remember quite clearly because, yeah. I mean, it goes, I mean, how far do you want to go back? Because the origins to Banjo and Kazooie really have to go back to, I'll do the whole thing for you. Why not?
Well, let's go. Let's go on the trip.
So we just down memory lane.
Yes.
So we just finished. What was it? Donkey Kong Country 2. Diddy's Conquest, and we're thinking, oh, you know, the team doesn't really want to do another Donkey Kong game, so the team sort of split off, and another team did Donkey Kong Country 3, while the rest of us went on to do a different game, which was codenamed Project Dream for the Super Nintendo, which I think there's some footage now on YouTube that Rare released a few years ago. But at the time, nobody, it was this mythical thing. People had heard of it, but no one had ever seen it. But they released footage a few years ago. So that was on the Super Nintendo for, I don't know, probably about a year before we realised that with the N64 coming up, the Super Nintendo's near the end of its life, there's no point doing this game. So we moved it over to the N64, where it became a 3D sort of adventure type game, a bit like Zelda, I suppose, but the hardware just wasn't powerful enough. I mean, Tim Stamper and Greg, my brother, had done. They'd done a great script, so they had all this great gameplay lined up, but the hardware just wasn't powerful enough. I mean, a particular thing I remember, we had the character and his dog being chased through this canyon by these two trolls, and we just could not get it running at a decent frame rate. And in the end, it was one character being chased by one troll, and we weren't even using the Z buffer trying to save frame rate, and we just the N64 just couldn't handle this ambitious a project. So around this time, I think Tim had got fed up with seeing this boy character who was called Edson, and I think he just said, you know, let's try it as an animal. So I tried it as a bear. So Banjo was in Dream for a while, being chased by trolls and stuff and falling down mine shafts and all that malarkey. He had the dog. He had a dog called Dinger. He was speaking. You know, there was sort of full voice acting in this game with motion capture and stuff. I don't think anyone's seen footage of that. It'd be interesting if Road released that, but actually
that would be interesting to see.
Again, around this time, Super Mario 64 was coming out, and we looked at that and we thought, oh, you know, that's amazing. This is what we need to be doing. So we scrapped this 3D sort of Zelda style adventure. We kept the bear as the main character because we liked him. I think he still had the backpack at this point, even though there was nothing in the backpack. He had his backpack and his shorts. I mean, Tim would just come in and he'd say stuff like, "Oh, give him a shark's tooth necklace." So I'd give him. He'd like come up with his ideas. I'm sure there was a backstory to it, but I'm not sure what it was. I'm not sure where the backpack came from. I've seen people say, "Oh, it was because we went to Japan in 1995 for the launch of the N64, and a lot of the people were wearing little backpacks, and people seem to think it comes from that, which maybe there's some truth in that." As for his tight yellow shorts, I'm not sure where that comes. So then Banjo was put in. It was kind of a 2.5D sort of side-scrolly type game. There is footage of that on YouTube. Banjo was like collecting fruit and stuff, and There was giant snails and stuff. But again, frame rate was our enemy. We wanted it to run at 30 frames per second, and we couldn't get it above 20. Mm-hmm. And it was jerky as hell. It just wasn't working.
Right.
So we went back to the drawing board, and being very much inspired by Mario 64, we created a test level of this sort of, we called it the temple. It was like a big sort of stone temple thing just in a field, but we managed to get that running at 30, and we got the character running around and jumping, and it all felt great, and thought, this is where we're going to go now. This is it. And from that point, it's from like 2 cancelled games over 2 years. It only took us 18 months then, once we had that nailed down. Mm-hmm. And Kazooie joined Banjo when we needed a double jump, because obviously all 3D platformers, all good 3D platformers have a double jump. So we needed a double jump. So the idea was, let's have some wings come out the backpack. So some wings came out when he jumped, because we wanted a reason for it. Like Mario was very much, nothing there was never any need to explain everything, because it was always a bit, defied physics, or it was a dream world type thing, whereas we very much wanted Banjo to be a bit more grounded in reality. So we thought, if he's doing a double jump in the air, how's he going to do that? And we thought, he can get extra lift from these wings. And then we wanted a fast run move, so we had some legs sprout out, and we had legs and wings. So we thought, that's daft, we might as well have a whole character in there. And it was just kind of an accident, really, how it ended up as a duo, because it wasn't meant to be like that from the start. But that's very much the way of games, especially in those days,
right?
When you're iterating stuff really quickly, and you're maybe working late at night, and there's just a couple of you there, and you're sort of throwing ideas around. And I think that sometimes that's where you have your best ideas, and that is how they came about, really.
Wow, that's really, really interesting. So Kazooie was originally just a pair of wings, a pair of feet, and you're like, well, we got the arms and the legs. We might as well build something else into it at this point, right?
Yes, that's right. I remember we had Banjo running around, and then I put the Kazooie model in, but there was no joints. It had no animation. So for a while, Banjo was just running around with this dead bird strapped onto his back.
I would love to see that somehow.
Because there was no animation for Kazooie, so that was quite amusing.
So, what are your thoughts about the fact that even though those games came out 20 years ago, or over 20 years ago, people still are huge and avid fans of Banjo Kazooie? Like, these are the games that you can only play originally on the Nintendo 64, now of course on the Xbox 360 and the arcade store, but the originals came from the Nintendo 64, and people still play those games even nowadays through speed runs, through just enjoyment, almost religiously. What are your thoughts that the game that you developed has stood this long in the test of time?
It's incredible, really. When you put it like that, it's just I think it's a testament to the great games design, which unfortunately I can't make any claim to. That was my brother did that. He really had the kind of the master plan. Mm-hmm. And of course the great music from Grant Kirkhope. Oh, yeah. People put the characters together with the music because it was so iconic. Mm-hmm. And they're just fun characters that have stood the test of time, and it's just a fun game. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's just enjoyable. Even now, I mean, I had a little go a while ago, and it still plays great.
Yeah, it really does, and I'm going to be streaming it very soon because I want to replay it again. I've replayed it quite a bit as a kid, and I can't wait to revisit it again.
Yeah, but it all comes down to the game, really. If the game was bad, no one would care about the characters.
Right.
I think a great game will elevate any sort of main character.
Now, I do got a question, because we're going to be entering into a little bit of uncharted territory, which, I don't know how much you can talk about. What happened, what didn't happen. I've heard rumors everywhere. So here's the question. Banjo 3E. Now, like I said, if you can't give details, I understand. But what happened? Why was it canceled? Any info at all? Because the internet right now is shrouded with rumors and mystery about kind of what happened. Some people claim one thing, another people claim other. It's rumors. Is there anything that you can clarify? If you can't, we understand, but is there anything that you can talk about for Banjo 3E?
Well, it wasn't cancelled. It came out, didn't it?
Well.
It was called Banjo Kazooie Nuts and Bolts.
We don't talk about this one.
Are you not a Nuts and Bolts fan?
No, I'm sorry. I am not a Nuts and Bolts fan. I just wasn't the biggest fan of it. I felt it was such a far cry from the original games. I mean,
yeah, I think that's people's main criticism. I mean, as a team, we were pleased with the new direction. We were pleased with what we'd made, but it was, a shame it wasn't the Banjo game people wanted. But I think we very much thought that we had to try something new for the Xbox market.
Right.
I think if we'd have stayed, with Nintendo, I think we'd have probably done a Banjo 3, which was very much in the vein of the other games. But I think there was very much the thought that we can't just do that anymore. And again, it comes back to the team, especially the design team, wanting to do something a bit different.
Right.
That not wanting to, just churn out the same experience again and again. But, I mean, looking back, I think the original idea for the game, I think we'd called it was sort of codenamed Banjo X at that time.
Right.
So this would be after Grab by the Ghoulies. So this is sort of, let's say, early 2004 by the time we started looking at it. And I remember the team it was never particularly big. There only ever seemed to be a few people on it. And to me, there never seemed to be a big push on it, really. I don't think we knew where it was going to go. We tried a few things. An initial idea was, you can go back to the original worlds and they're all destroyed and stuff. But we didn't really feel that was going to work, because it'd be just as much work to do those worlds destroyed as to do brand new worlds, and I'm sure people would much prefer brand new worlds,
right, yeah,
rather than old rehashed worlds. And then we had another thing going where it was going to be like a 4-player thing.
Okay.
Whether it was online or like local multiplayer, I can't remember, but the idea was that you'd control 4 banjos. This was an interesting concept, and be like, so you'd be able to stack the banjos on top of one another, and they'd be able to help each other up to ledges, which sounds completely overambitious now talking about it. But yeah. And I think there was going to be some competition with Grunty. So there was Grunty. The banjos were trying to win something, and Grunty was in a competition at the same time. I think that was the idea. And we'd done a few characters. I think I've put a few out over the years on like Twitter and stuff. We'd done a few characters, but it really wasn't going anywhere, and the team was scaled back. And then the team was split up, with most of the team going on to make Viva Pinata, because that had a very definite direction it was going in.
Right.
And then at that point, for probably a year, Banjo, it had a sort of a skeleton staff on it, really. There was maybe only 1 or 2 people on it, because most people had gone on to Pinata then. Even I did 6 months of work on Pinata, because the Banjo game just wasn't going anywhere. And then around, I don't know what year it would be, probably sometime in 2006, there was an idea, probably from Tim and Greg, about, I think Tim had already had this idea of like building stuff from blocks and stuff. I still think the base idea is really good. I'm not sure it was right for a Banjo game. I think as a standalone game, the concept is really good, and it was probably ahead of its time, and it was probably more than the hardware could cope with at the time as well. I know we struggled a little bit with frame rate. But we all bought into this new direction, And it seemed like it would be, you know, the right thing to do. But of course, when it came out, people just didn't see it the same way as us. They were very disappointed. But I wonder if, you know, there was a traditional Banjo 3 game coming out on Xbox. I'm not sure it would have sold very well. I think the home for that sort of game is always going to be Nintendo.
Right. So, what was your initial reaction when, when the fans, when you saw it get into the hands of the fans, and people just didn't? I'm sorry, it's a little bit of a different question than what we have, but I just want kind of a follow up. Is that what was your reaction, or what was the team's reaction when when not as many people that you maybe thought would have enjoyed the game played it, and you saw the mixed reactions? What was kind of your reaction to that?
Well, yeah, we were really disappointed. I mean, there's no other way to put it, and it kind of, I guess, it kind of killed Banjo really, because I guess the company probably lost money on it because it didn't sell as well as was expected. And then we kind of enter into a bit of an uncertain period at Rare where it didn't seem like we knew what we were going to do next before the Kinect games came along, because there was various prototypes that were being worked on for a few months, and then it seemed that everything was just being scrapped all the time. So it's a shame, really.
It is. You know, you work really hard on something, and it just doesn't really connect with fans. It's something that, you know.
Yeah, I think it has got a definite cult following. I mean, I've seen some of the creations. There's some of the creations people have made on YouTube are just incredible. You know, they've used all these components in ways we never thought they'd. You know, they've made like walking mechs and stuff like that. Yeah. It's quite amazing, some of the things people have made. But I think the game, maybe it was probably a little bit too complicated. But I think the main thing is it probably shouldn't have been Banjo. If it could have been like a Blast Core game, that would have fitted it better. You know, you make vehicles and you go and destroy stuff.
Yeah, I think that you know, I think it was a good idea, just not the right IP. I think that that is kind of what happened to Nuts and Bolts, as like a point of view of a fan. So I'm in agreement with you. So you are familiar with, now it's kind of coming back to today now. You are familiar with the Crash and Spyro remakes, right? The Insane Trilogy and the Reignited Trilogy. You've seen how they rebuilt it from the ground up. Would you want the same treatment done to Banjo Kazooie?
It's a difficult one for me, because I want to say yes, but I want to say no as well. Okay. I mean, part of me thinks, you know, it should be kind of left in the past, but part of me thinks, you know, Banjo deserves to come back, and this would be the easiest and most sensible way to bring him back, to see if there is demand for a brand new game. You know, just do a remaster or whatever you want to call it of the original two games. Absolutely. I mean, for me, it's always strange and a little difficult when I see my characters that have been redone, and you know, I haven't done them. It's you know, I'm always kind of, if people do a great job, I'm like, oh yeah, that's great. You know, it's probably done a better job than I could have done. But if I see things that I think, oh, I wouldn't have done that, that kind of does annoy me a little bit. But you know, what can you do?
Well, because they're your creations, they're your babies, right? And now people are kind of altering it, and it's out of your control.
Yeah, which is fine. That's just the way it is, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So
it is strange. Yeah. You know, seeing all the Smash stuff.
Yeah.
For K. Rool, it didn't have this. You know, I think they'd done an amazing update of K. Rool, and he'd been kind of, you know, he'd been long forgotten for many years. So it was you know, amazing to see him back.
Right.
But Banjo, it had been sort of 11 years since Nuts and Bolts. So I don't know how to put it. Really, it was stranger for me to see Banjo and Kazooie back. I think part of it was coming back on a Nintendo console as well. It was all a little bit surreal.
It's kind of like memories from the past kind of coming to the present and things being changed. It's all just kind of like a weird feeling overall to see.
Yeah, especially when they'd done like the whole Spiral Mountain stage, and they'd like done Grunty and Bottles, and it was like this bizarre time warp. Like we'd kind of gone back, but with modern graphics. Well, I guess that's what any remastered game would look like, really. So
yeah.
It was great. It's great that they're back in the limelight and people can see that. People's reaction. They were just, they just loved to see the characters back, and rightly so.
Yeah, and I remember I lost my mind when I saw the Jiggy bounce all across the street. I lost my mind because I knew immediately what was funny. Some of my chat missed the Jiggy. They just thought it was like a metal piece. I was just like, no, that was a Jiggy. And some of my chat were like, what? No, it wasn't. And then when the reveal happened, I just remember like my chat, like the chat exploded. You couldn't even look at anything. It was just of people just typing crazy amounts. It was one of my favorite reveals the way they did it. It was a lot of fun. But I got one last question for you before we end the interview, with this amazing interview that is going to be a pleasure to listen back to over and over again. Is it theoretically possible that Microsoft could approach you as a team and have you, Playtonic Games, work on a new Banjo game? Because I know you had to stomp out a few rumors recently that you guys were about to get bought out by Microsoft, but is a partnership opportunity possible?
Well, I guess anything's possible. I mean, obviously the rumors, it was just Ed Bryan turning up with his Microsoft bag on his first day at work at Playtonic, wasn't it? So it was a rumor from absolutely nothing, really. But you can see the interest out there if just something as daft as that, spreads into this rumor. Mm-hmm. I mean, anything's possible, but I mean, it all comes back to that question. Is Banjo right for Xbox, really? Mm-hmm. Was the whole Smash thing only as popular as it was because he was back on Nintendo? And there's definitely an element of that. Mm-hmm. So say in theory Microsoft did approach us. Well, sure, I'm sure we'd absolutely love to work on a new Banjo game. Mm-hmm. But would it be right? Would it be right for Xbox?
Well, that would be an interesting question because there's a lot of debate about that. Now I will say this though, is that Microsoft has been porting a lot of their stuff over to Nintendo, like Ori and the Blind Forest, another platformer game that was Microsoft exclusive, is now going over to the Switch. So maybe there could be a market, maybe not necessarily directly in Xbox, but maybe the market would be when it gets ported over to the Switch.
Well, maybe. I mean, I remember at the time when when Microsoft bought Rare, I think I was very naive. I thought all the Nintendo fans who loved the Rare games like the Banjo and stuff, they'd come across to Xbox, but of course they were very loyal to Nintendo. Yeah. And they didn't come across. Well, I mean, I remember when we had like the standees for Grab by the Ghoulies, which is a great game, of course, but not many people bought it. We had those standees, and we had like on the top we'd put from the team that bought you Donkey Kong Country and Banjo Kazooie, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, that's really going to sell the game. But people didn't care. It was a whole new ball game on Xbox, and we were a bit shocked. I think how badly that game did. Because I think if that game would have come out on Nintendo, it would have been a hit.
Yeah, it depends on the market.
So I mean, to me, I made Banjo and Kazooie as Nintendo characters, really.
Never really thought about that. That you made Banjo Kazooie with Nintendo in mind, huh?
Yeah, I know they've been, they've been under the Microsoft banner for a lot longer than they were, Nintendo characters. But but sometimes you see on Twitter, you'll see like packaging from the N64 when they've got like Banjo lined up next to Mario and Link. Banjo was one of their main stars.
Yeah, he fit in perfectly.
Absolutely, yeah. That's why he was created.
Right. Well, it's definitely something that is still, debated among fans, and I personally would love to see the Barenberg combo come back. I think that it would be a huge thing for Xbox to be able to maybe start breaking into a grounds that would be similar to Banjo and Kazooie. The family-friendly platformers. I think that would open up an entirely new market for an Xbox, because I feel like it's largely unexplored in that market. So anyway, Steve, I really appreciate you joining me today. Oh, so go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. I think that's absolutely the way to do it. I think I've said before the way to do it, and I'll be surprised if somebody isn't doing it. I don't think the appetite's there at Rare to make a new Banjo or even remake the old ones, but I'd be surprised if somebody isn't thinking about it right now after seeing the reaction to Smash. And it'd be a fairly cost-efficient way of, sort of dipping your toe in the water, I guess, and seeing if there is demand for Banjo Kazooie on Xbox. Would be to remaster those original games, and if they are a massive hit, then yeah, you can make your new game then,
right?
Because the new game needs to be, it needs to be a proper big budget game. Really, they shouldn't be cutting corners. Banjo and Kazooie, if they do come back in a new game, they deserve a great game, no expense spared.
I agree. I do agree. They definitely deserve a worthy comeback, no expenses spared for them, because I think that it could really benefit the gaming industry as a whole. Now, last thing before we go there, Steve, I gotta ask, what have you guys been working on recently?
Well, I'm glad you asked me that. So we've just come out with a new game, released a couple of months ago. It's a brand new game, a ukulele game called Ukulele in the Impossible Lair. And it's a 2D platformer at its heart, but it's also got a lot of 3D exploration in the form of an overworld, which acts a little bit like a map screen, but it's very much more than that. There's characters to meet, puzzles to solve, secrets to find, and we've concentrated on making the gameplay very fluid and fast-flowing, great mechanics, very much like the Donkey Kong Country games. So if you like those games, you'll love Ukulele in the Impossible Lair. It's out on the Switch. I think it's even 25% off at the moment. So if you get in quick, by the time we air this, it probably won't be on sale. But it's still at full price. Well worth getting.
So that's all the time I have for today. Thank you, Steve, so much for joining me on this wonderful interview. I really appreciate you stopping by.
No, it's been my pleasure.
And thank you for watching. So make sure to like and subscribe for more nostalgic content, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.